Verses 16, 24, and 25 identify a terminal system error, classifying the text as tales of the ancients. Treating the narratives as historical archives disables the live execution of the document. The Quran functions as an active topology, an eternal memory tesseract that executes strictly in the present tense of the reader. It is a sealed system of logic, not a chronicle of the past. This provides the context for the command in verse 1565, do not look back. In standard readings, this is reduced to a moral parable about leaving old ways. Within a closed universe, however, this prohibition acts as a hard physical law. It is the kinematic enforcement of a mathematical reality. This motion is driven by a permanent value lock found in verse 93:4, which determines the system's entire directional orientation. Attempting to access a closed historical ledger to find proof generates a critical state error. It misplaces the reader's orientation within the system. Viewing the text as a physical artifact, a decaying object of history, disables its executable power. Historical fixation results in the reader becoming a mass without a spirit, a preserved warning rather than an active node. Verse 1092 demonstrates this literally. Pharaoh's preserved body represents the museum state of the past, the literal dead end of historical fixation. Because looking backward leads to system termination, the forward vector is the only mathematically viable path for the reader. Verse 93:4 establishes the structural parameters of the traversal. The hereafter is better for you than the first. In coordinate geometry, this functions as a directional diode. This HUD displays the first mechanism of the lock, the double emphatic lam. It represents the highest grammatical certainty, a sealed declaration of state that cannot be modified. The second mechanism is the word laka, meaning for you. This targets the active reader node in real time, ensuring the diode is applied directly to your specific timeline. The third mechanism is the root khair, which operates as a monotonic vector. It mandates that value can only increase in one direction, forward. By assigning khair exclusively to the future state, the system renders the past coordinate, al-ula, mathematically zero for the reader's optimization path. Simultaneously, it assigns a strictly positive gradient to the future, the akhirah. Nowhere in the text is this reversed. There is no counterterm stating the past is better than the future, meaning the equation cannot be inverted. Verse 93:4 installs an irreversible directional gradient into your coordinate space. It defines the only valid direction of travel. The root khair functions as a phase transition operator. It determines whether a node is integrated into the center or ejected from the system entirely. This Smith chart maps two possible orientations for that vector. On the left, the Iblis node from verse 3876 locates its khair in its past origin, being created from fire. Its vector points sharply backward. Attempting to anchor in the past creates maximum mismatch. The node crashes into the edge of the operational field and reflects back as a system error. The error of the tagut is precisely this, anchoring value and identity in material history or past origins. The reader is required to point their khair vector exclusively toward the future, the akhirah. This forward orientation allows the node to glide toward the center of the chart, the matched destination. Better is not a moral absolute. It is a directional operator that either ejects the node via mismatch or pulls it to perfect convergence. The mathematical proof established in 93:4 gives verse 1565 its physical authority. Do not look back is the only logical motion in this field. Looking back causes a violent phase flip inversion. Because the past coordinate has been zeroed out, it cannot support a valid trajectory. Verse 2134 enforces this by sealing historical communities as a closed ledger. Their earnings are inaccessible. Verse 2888 defines all past material existence as a perishing set. It lacks the persistence necessary for optimization. Any attempt to optimize toward a coordinate with zero value results in computational failure. 1565 is simply the physics of a space where the past has no value. Looking back is an attempt to process a void coordinate. We are often tempted to trace the footsteps of those who came before us, seeking validation through external history or ancestral tradition. Verse 6116 bars this instinct as zun, conjecture. Relying on external history is a structural crime against the pattern of the book. Tracking the past forces you to execute the backward-looking algorithm of Iblis. You find yourself on a constant mismatch orbit, experiencing the sensation of motion while achieving no resolution. Lingering in the historical illusion guarantees you will spin in circles without ever approaching the destination. Since the vector is locked forward, where does the traversal terminate? Verse 3846 introduces the terminal node, dhikr al-dar, the remembrance of the home. The engine is now complete. We have the gradient engine of 93.4 locking into the kinematic rails of 1565, terminating at the terminal node of 3846. Following this triad provides a direct path to the zero reflection center of the Smith chart. This home represents the state of perfect zero reflection alignment between the book and the reader. It is the recognition that the source was never actually left. The triad is absolute. It ensures arrival at the center, provided the backward glance is eliminated. The topology of the system is mapped, but the equations of motion require an operator. Verse 10-100 identifies ak, rigorous pattern recognition, as the only tool for seeing this topology. It rejects all external conjecture. The final execution command is verse 19-12, the directive to take the book with strength. You must abandon the Tagut's historical illusion, activate your structural grip on the text, and execute the forward-only traversal to the home.